Good morning.
Morning.
Aaron,
Good.
hope you feel better soon, Robert. Lots of stuff going around right now. We'll give it another minute or two while people are filing in. Then we can get started. Hi, Katie. All right. We'll see if we get. Thanks, Dawn, for joining us. Get it another couple minutes. At this point, if we don't have TOC quorum, we just can't make, we can still have the discussion. We just can't make any decisions, which is, I don't think we're looking for decisions in today's call. We're doing kind of a review. Okay, let me pull up. Do you want to share your screen, Bob, or do you want? You have to leave halfway through as well.
I like that meeting actually got canceled or punted, so I
Okay,
can't actually pay for all of it.
awesome. I think it's been a long February so far. We're kind
It's
of
been a
getting.
long year.
Yes, let's not go there. Okay, in that case, I will pull up the LF antitrust policy for all of us to review.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, I believe I am sharing it. So reminders that, all right, let's see, there we go. That we all conduct activities in accordance with the applicable antitrust and competition laws. So we follow the meeting agendas and we do not break any laws. TLDR. Okay. Now let's go back to our agenda and get the right thing in. Do you want to share
Do you,
your screen?
okay, that's actually I was gonna say. Do you want me to share, or do you want to keep driving? Give me a
You,
sec.
I'm happy for you to drive. That'd be awesome. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Welcome again, everybody. All right, so we've gone over the antitrust policy and we also follow the code of conduct guidelines. So we're all very nice to each other and let's go ahead and jump into the open votes. I don't think we have any open votes. Yeah,
We do not.
awesome. We are being very efficient, which is wonderful. We did last meeting go through and review and assign projects. So I think we can skip that one unless anybody is opposed. And I don't think for today we have enough people to review the TOC work board, so we could also do that async and in our private meeting next week. Emily, are you opposed to?
Private meeting next week is the sandbox meeting. So
Okay.
we will need to set aside time in another private meeting to go through our backlog of work and start closing some open issues that have been untouched for a long period of time. So to be rescheduled.
Sounds good.
Actually, quick, that might be a good async thing, or a thing once the new TOC is seated to go through and just clean it up before really start digging into work.
Sounds good. We'll start a thread on that async, and then for everybody else, the new TOC is seated on May 4th.
March 4th.
Ah, it's been that long of a year already. March 4th, everyone. Okay. So we will move on to the tag reboot status. And I don't know if Leo's here. His updates in the tag channel have been wonderful. If any tag members would like to speak up about where they're at with talking to their tags or anything that you would like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Okay. So quick status on the reboot. We are looking at the timeline for after KubeCon, so after the quiet period. Go ahead and start the votes for the new seated members. And Emily, can I ask you to jump in and kind of give I'm assuming that you or Bob put this on the agenda, so.
The tag reboot status.
Yeah, so it was really, I just wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to like raise any concerns or ask any quick questions. Wanted to try to time box it so we don't spend the entire meeting talking through where things are at again, because I think we've made good progress over the past week or 2 weeks, engaging and reaching out and answering questions. We've gotten some clarity. We have a growing list of things that need to get done. I know Bob had a bunch of people ping him shortly after the meeting, and he was being patient and providing responses, but that's caused some delays in us getting some of the documentation written up. So really that's all it was, is checking in with everyone, make sure, one, you've heard of the tag reboot, two, that you've had a conversation with somebody about the tag reboot, and three, if you have any outstanding concerns or questions that are open that haven't been addressed, please let us know so we can make sure that they're covered and incorporated in the updates to the repos and the documentation as we are drafting them.
Thank you, Emily. And if you don't want to speak up in today's call, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Okay, so today's primarily purpose of today's meeting is that we are talking about the archiving process, which has started last year, actually the year before. So I think, Dems, you kicked that off. But if we look at the process, we have a number in the board. Thank you, Bob. And
Multiple things.
okay, thank you. So really,
Yeah, we had a bunch from before. If you scroll down to the bottom, we probably have to take a look at those one more time to see if they made any progress. But the ones starting from, I think Sealer was also last month, but the rest of the things Bob added just this morning. So we went through, like there was a dev stats URL that showed like what is not uh, you know low activity and things like that. So then we cross-checked with the other sources of information that we have, and then we essentially like created one issue in our repository, one issue in their repository, tagged a bunch of like the top 10 committers, people with commit history. We don't know where we can get the correct information from. Some of them project maintainers didn't have the right information, so I just went and plucked through the commit history the top 10 people and then put them there. And then some notes on like when did they make a release, what kind of concerns that we are talking about here, so to say. I think one of the things that I was thinking about after this exercise this morning was maybe we should have one criteria which is of health as releases. If the project doesn't have a release at all in the last 6 months, then we should start raising the concern there, asking what's happening, so to say, because some of these haven't had a release more than a year and a half. So that's a feedback from the thing that Bob and I were doing this morning.
Hi, Dims. I'll just weigh in quickly. I know some projects who is a spec project, which I just went through for Intuitive, who doesn't have release that often. So maybe there can be some exception be made.
Absolutely.
But in general, I do agree with you. It's very, very typical for open source projects to do a couple of release per year. So every 6 months, I think that's a very reasonable ask.
Right. Again, if they had a release before and haven't had a release now, that is the case that we are looking at here, Len. Emily?
I know we've talked about the 6-month release cadence as being up as a question. I think one, just if they had a prior release, verifying that they have another one, and that there is some sort of cadence associated with it. For graduated projects, it gets more stable. My only concern is because we provide so much flexibility with projects based off of when they plan on releasing. We don't dictate it has to be every 6 months. We don't dictate it has to be every quarter or anything like that. We would need a good indicator, and I don't know that we're currently set up to define what that is.
Yep.
So it's like for me, I'm thinking through from a data perspective, making sure that there is some trend associated with it, looking for any deviations associated with that release cadence, and flagging anything that seems to be delayed. But I was talking with Bob just before this call, is like having indicators and visual aids for the TOC of when these things are or are not happening, or when something seems to be off, is intended to provide us with like the mechanism to go and have the conversation with projects. So this, I feel like, was part of the annual review automation that we talked to the LFX team about. And I kind of question, like, where is that at? So that we're not rehashing all of this again.
Right.
So that's actually what I was going to bring up is one, so the LFX dashboard, or the DevStats dashboard for the project health table, is that replicated in LFX? To where's the LFX at Insights team at on the automation? And then also, again, the indicator, being able to say, yes, this one's only hasn't had a release in the last 6 months, and then quickly eyeballing it and says, yes, that's a spec, which is great to go through and do. That's better than not having it. So, but that was a great thing to bring up on, Bob.
Just a quick thing for the folks here. So if you click on the link that I threw there, only show inactive projects, there is a checkbox. So if you do that, that is the list that we dealt with this morning. Bob, go ahead.
So as far as the sort of 1,000-foot view, that is at least in the works. at least since the LF acquired open source last year. The Oh, that I was gonna say the metric that I tend to like I like to use, at least for maintainer health specifically, is the average daily PR review rate versus the like actual open PRs, because it's 90% of the time it's the maintainers that are actually doing the reviews, and if they aren't doing reviews, then that is a pretty clear indicator of the actual health of the project. PR age can also be PR age versus when the reviews are happening is a good one. Like some of the velocity metrics.
Right. The worst case scenario is like all contributions, all GitHub activity, right? Like which is the one that I ended up picking
Yeah.
for most of these, because that means that there's nothing happening literally in these projects.
Oh yeah. I think like in a lot of these projects that we have, let me pull up the list again. A lot of them have had zero activity in at least 90 days. But like to head off things before they get bad, like when we should try and, you know, do a pulse check, that's where I think the other indicators can be helpful. So like, I'll pull up. Let's see. Those have gone down there. If we go over to velocity, I think this is the lead time. Oh, I think this is counting bots though.
Yeah.
But you can see the last time there was a commit was June of last year, which is a pretty solid indicator in itself.
Right. Also, the other concern that I had was, Kevin, some of these projects are from your neck of the woods, Far East, and we don't really have a good way of reaching out to them because they are not on Slack, right? So we like I did tag their GitHub handles, but I don't know if it's going to get lost. So I did create an issue in their own projects as well. So they should be able to catch that, but we might have to find other ways to reach out to these folks. Like Super Edge, for example, I think was one
Yeah,
example.
I can definitely help to find the guys, maybe through WeChat, but also there are the other ways. Yeah, I can. I think most of the project people from China, I'm able to reach out them. Yeah.
Okay.
So this looks like they have
They
their
have
own Slack. I was just looking.
I guess the other question is like, how far should we go? We created a ticket, issue in ours. We created an issue in theirs. We are tagging their GitHub handle. What else should we be doing? An open question to everybody here, I guess.
The only other thing I could suggest too would be send an email to their maintainers list. And it's usually like, let's see, left dash. And because that, at least theoretically, is the people that we as that are listed as the representatives for the project.
Is that keyed off the CSV file, Bob?
Yes.
Yeah, some of these projects did not have entries in the CSV file. That was the problem there.
Okay, that is good to know. the other thing I'd say is like, how much time, this might be in the archiving process, but like how much time do we want to give between opening the issue in their repo and actually calling the vote to archive? I think, Karina,
So-
you've done this. I'm sorry, Emily.
I was going to say, so we have this documented in the archiving process that Richie put together, and I believe it is at least 2 weeks, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
It also says in the order of months in line 2.
Yeah, so like the challenge with the archiving process is because some projects were more active than others naturally, just by cadence. And we need to make sure that we've done our part in reaching out and engaging with them. And while our regular cycle is 2 weeks for PRs and reviews like that, because we kind of anticipate our community to be active within a 2-week window, I think it's a fair assumption for any active project. But if we're looking at it from a health perspective, we might need to be slightly more lenient about that. And maybe we need to be more clear here is that instead of it being 2 weeks, which is what we have for final public comment, maybe we work on 1 month for getting engagement from them. Karina?
I was just gonna echo what you're saying too, is when I was doing some of these, I was giving them a month to come back. And then now we'll have to go look at the issues. It was give them 3 months to remediate and come back with what their steps are to either, address the issues, the health issues, or move to archive. So I agree that the archiving document should provide more clarification here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with raising my hand.
That's fine. So let's work through how we want to do this with the ones that we currently have open right now. I think Dims, you've gone through enough archives just like I have. Typically we start the health of, we take a look at it, we make a decision of whether or not this makes sense to move forward. You've already got that captured here for Marebridge. Then the next step is opening the issue with the project that kind of outlines everything. And I think that's been done for this one, right?
Yeah.
You
You kind of went through and did it for all of them.
Okay, so Dims is the archive ruler.
Specialist.
He's done it all. So we've done that one. So then it's now waiting for the project to get back to us, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So-
We have to actively try a few things like Kevin was talking about, making sure that the project maintainers see it somewhere or the other. And I will also try to gather some emails and try to see if the mailing list is active or if there's been any activity on anywhere else, Slack or
The
places.
other lever we should pull is, I know Taylor is no longer with CNCF, but we typically relied on someone reaching out to the end user community to give notice of archive. Maybe we should start doing that for notice of health as well. Do we have a new point of contact to do that with the end user community?
It would be me for now, but
Yay, Bob!
One more hat.
it's already a mile high as it is. So it's
How about this? Let's take advantage of the end user tab. Okay, so if we have the search string for the health of projects with the labels, we can write up in the end user tab channel, hey, here's the projects we're looking at health of. Do you all have any information associated with this? Any way of contacting the maintainers to provide us more information?
Yeah, there is a label, so it's easy for query.
oh wait.
Okay. I'm going to make a note of this so that we don't lose track of it. I think the next question is,
Katie's here.
who
I was
wants
about
to
to say,
actually?
Bob, I'm here.
Katie, you're on the tab, right?
Yes, I'm shadowing the tab now. Yeah,
Ah, would you like to proxy this information over to them?
absolutely.
Excellent.
Should we also throw it out on the TOC mailing list too?
Yeah, why not? Let's just make sure everyone's aware.
Okay. I can take that on.
Are we
I'll
looking?
say here is the list of the current ones that we filed this morning. And please, if you know the maintainers, please reach out to them. And here are the links and stuff. Sorry, I overspoke somebody. Katie, was that you?
Yeah, I think I actually overspoke over you. I'm trying to understand if we're looking for very specific criteria in terms of the feedback back, because I find that especially with the end users, it's a combination of feedback and it's very difficult to structure. So I'm trying to understand if there's particular points that we want to highlight and bring back. So these are the kind of the three questions you want an answer, very simple, yes or no, for us to make a decision on the health of the project.
Yeah. Are you using it? Do you want to take that over? That's basically my wish list there.
Are you using it? Is
Yeah.
it maintained? And if you know who by,
Oh,
um,
yeah. Do you have
is-
a fork,
In
right?
that organization,
Yeah.
yeah.
is it active? Like, are they aware of any activity going on, maybe behind the scenes that we're just not saying? So kind of back to that fork.
Is this kind of sounds a bit similar to the adopter interview, like at least an overlap of those questions. So I'm wondering if we should have a lighter version of that. The thing is, I would love to have one resource that we can reuse for both, because in a way it shows the health of the project.
One other thing I'll say is like most of these projects are all sandbox. So they're and I don't think any of them have actually really tried to go for incubating yet. I think that's going to be the case for the majority of the archive type things.
Yeah, I think perhaps Linkerd was one of the non-sandbox projects that I can recall.
I wonder if we take another time to go through a review of incubating projects and see what they look like in comparison to Sandbox and any stats on how to move either the Sandbox into incubating, or do we need to have a different bar to get into Sandbox? Or do we care right now? So we just archive them as needed. I don't know, Dims, what do you think?
I think fast in, fast out, right? Get them in quickly and get them out quickly is basically what I was thinking for this one.
Yeah, that goes back to like the sandbox change, and I think it was either 2020 or 2021 where like because before it was like sandbox was much closer to incubating than what it is now.
Right.
And so it was like the bar was lowered dramatically just that way people could get things in to be that neutral org, because it was such a blocker for a lot of people wanting to contribute. So more or less +1 for the fast in, fast out.
Yeah, the fast out hasn't been happening, so we have to get faster in getting things out.
I think if we do provide some more solid timelines in the archiving process, we'll be able to get them out faster.
Yeah, comms are typically the issue, Karina. That's we don't really have a way for reaching everyone. That's I don't know. That's been a battle we've been fighting for a while.
I know the projects team has been working on standardizing even more. Bob, is there anything that you can share on the comms issue?
Progress wise, not really, but like one of the big things we would like to try and do this year is to make it dramatically easier for projects to sort of self-manage the, like, essentially the maintainer list, um and as well as like that being linked to other things like access in LFX for certain things, and by them being able to self-manage, like also having it be essentially managed in their own project repo, so that way, like, theoretically they're supposed projects are supposed to like self-manage and update the CSV file and other things like that. But if it's, not within their project balance, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So hopefully moving something in project in sort of scope that, the projects do see and use, that will become easier. Plus, it removes a lot of overhead on the staff side of things. Uh, I know Rian recently went through and did like a bunch of cleanup.
Thank you to Emily for already providing some copy paste for initial comms in the comments.
Yeah, I'll cut and paste that. Thanks, Emily.
Not a problem. I also have it recorded on the issue. Katie, you could probably use that same thing with the end user tab. This has the 1 month health response window captured in it, but we have not formalized that in the archiving process. So we'll need the PR to formalize that. And then because it's a change to our process, even though it's providing clarification, I think we'll need a few TOC members to provide that approval because it is a decisional matter. But then once we have that, so the expectation is we go through, we do the reviews, we open the 1 month health response window for everybody. We come back in a month, see if we got any answers to anything, and then we make a decision to either move to a vote for archive or to provide kind of the next steps for them to get back to a healthy state, which should have a corresponding timeline associated with it. So what else do we need? Oh, Katie, sorry.
Just kind of to confirm, are we trying to kind of approach all of these projects health? Because if I reach to the end users, we want all of this to be tackled, I presume.
Yeah,
There are
at least the ones that we opened this morning. There's 8 of them. Yeah, well, you can include
Yeah.
Sealer too. Yeah, Sealer and above.
Sealer and above. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think it's good. I want to point to the issues as well, so users can find it easy, like straightforward. Thank you.
There's using the labels the easiest way. I'll drop a link.
Yeah, like I've posted this as well. I was about to post it as well. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure because there are some of them which are outstanding for a while as well.
Honestly, those, like, we should probably, like, this we've kind of closed out at this point.
I thought Linkerd had a time frame associated with it that we hadn't hit yet. I think that was
Okay.
April.
That might be the case.
We might need a better state for like things that we're already engaged in and active on that we don't necessarily need people's responses for.
Either way, we should probably go at least look at these 3, or in probably Pravega too, because they had a.
So yeah, that's the one where they were going to
Yeah. So a checkup on these 4.
so while we'll do the So we'll do the checkup on those four. Who wants to, I guess we should assign them really fast to the VS Code and then the Carvel. Dims, do you want to take
The
the
Carvel was mine.
Yeah.
I'll go back to it.
Okay. And Lynn, do you want to take VS Code?
Yeah, sure. Happy to help.
This one should be easy because I thought Ralph Squid, I always forget how to say his last name, that he was going to finish onboarding that. So yeah, that might be actually reaching out to Daniel Crook first. And so my question is, should the same verbiage with additional verbiage be sent out to the maintainers list that I believe George maintains for all the projects, so that there's a heads up on, remember to keep an eye on the health of your project, and maybe prompt them to, if you're a project that is self-archive, right? Because I know there's some companies that are good at that, and maybe prompt if you're not, you know, really active with this project anymore, and this project should be looking to archive, here's where you put the issue. And let's already proactively look at archiving.
That was done
Actually-
by a couple projects. I think I don't remember which one off the top of my head though.
Yeah, I know there's several Microsoft projects that have done that in the past, and it's always appreciated because it takes a lot of the burden off the TOC. But I don't know that we've ever had a conversation with maintainers about how to self-archive your project. Like, what does that look like? And I don't think we have any documentation written up for them.
Yeah, I don't want to surprise them out of the blue, so to say, right now.
Maybe that is something that we can look at creating. What's the self-archival process? If you're with this project, and maybe we can enlist some of the projects that have already done that to help create that.
So I want to make sure that I get that into action because we've talked about improving the archive process to clarify the timelines of engagement. We're recommending like 1 month for the health response window. We should probably also include like what we talked about of reaching out on the maintainer list, the TOC list, and to the end user tab. As like, hey, when we get these things, this is how we notify everyone. And then also, in addition to the those changes to archiving, we also need to add how to self-archive so that it's all nicely nestled and like you got a question about how archiving works in CNCF. This is the file to go to. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. And that is a good point, Bob. In the long term, with the tag reboot, a lot of the, you know, consolidating the project websites, or, you know, the tag websites and, you know, more information. But long term, Bob, you mentioned that this will also go into the website so that it's easier to find processes and how to do things.
Long term, we want to like it might be contribute.cncf.io. It could be maintainers or whatever, but try and consolidate a lot of the information that we have for like essentially just have one page for people to go to and search for everything, because a lot of it is scattered across multiple websites, multiple GitHub repos, and doesn't help with SEO and doesn't make things very discoverable overall.
And to my initial reason that I brought that up, should somebody also send a notice out on the overall maintainers list about archiving? And is that George?
I would potentially do that when we have docs updated or when the site is there, so we can kind of roll it into one message, because the maintainers list is kind of also a blunt instrument. And the more things we send to it, the more like we want to be careful how much we send to it, because people tune it out.
Sounds good. So this sounds like a post-KubeCon item. Sounds good. Okay. So with 20 minutes to go, which we don't have to use up all the time, the proposed, does anybody else have anything about archiving before we move to the proposed code of conduct updates? Okay. Code of conduct PR, Bob, is this yours? This is Jeremy's.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeremy opened the PR and was looking to get comments from the TOC, specifically around some of this, because the TOC approves the code of conduct. And this is largely to sort of mirror the policy that the foundation itself follows regarding essentially using the CNCF as a platform for political campaigning or, well, political causes. This isn't necessarily to say like you can't discuss this stuff, but there have been multiple issues where people will, you know, take things very much out of context and will then assume that the foundation or certain projects are in support of certain things, or it becomes like a home for certain behaviors and things like that. And these have had real consequences, not just on the code of conduct side, but for people in projects that I can't get into too much. Yeah, please see the code of conduct transparency report for more information.
So TFC members, please go and review Jeremy's PR. And if you have a link to the code of conduct transparency report that you can also put in the comments or on the issue, that would be great, Bob.
Yep, let me pull that up.
So real quick, just a reminder for the TOC and anybody watching, the TOC is responsible for approving changes to the code of conduct. So this is our responsibility to do. We need to have every TOC member take a look, because if we don't know what a code of conduct says, we cannot empower the committee to enforce it.
Thank you. And thanks for dropping the link, Bob. Okay. Now, it might be good to take this time to go back and review the TOC workboard in the last 15 minutes, since we have not done that in a little while. Maybe we can review some of those really fast. Okay. All right. Active review and discussion. Okay.
Oops. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong board. Oh, this is TOC work. Never mind.
Okay, we just have the health ones on this one too. Okay, draft guidelines on how substantial an operator has to be to become an independent project. So this was yours. Do you want to open that one? Thank you.
I still have not done this. Anyone is welcome to take this on. It's still needed. We've had a few more of these operator style projects come in, and we've talked in the past about this moving to toolbox potentially. how we want to capture that, if we just want to go through and write the documentation associated with how substantial an operator needs to be, or if we just want to say operators will be eligible for toolbox at a later date when we decide to do that. If we decide to do that, like, this issue has been open for so long, we should probably make a decision on what we're going to do with it and move forward.
Does anybody have any thoughts on moving forward? I guess I always look at you, Dems, because I figure you probably have thoughts here.
Yeah, it's the definition of an operator, right? That we have a problem right there. Like, how do we like you know it when you see it, you will know it, right? So that's one issue. The other issue typically here is how do you prune them, which is the typical problem that we have, and how do you ensure the health? How do you make sure that they are putting out releases and taking in PRs and working on issues. So it tends to die out quickly, right? Like there is initial when you set this up, people will want to get their things in. We've had this happen in several instances. There was a Kubernetes incubator process at one point. We still have a couple of repositories where people can do this, and it doesn't stay up too long. It doesn't stay relevant too long, and it bitrots quickly. So that is the thing to fight, and I haven't been able to get help figure out like what is a set of things that would ensure the health. So that's the problem here.
Yeah, because Bob has settled on the 2 comments right here, and then I'll hand it over to Bob. I'll do that before I have my comment, so go ahead. I think you're first, Bob, or is Emily?
Me.
Okay.
I think one of the things we should do is if, we could potentially have this to even like the sandbox application, but if you are an operator for something that's already a CNCF project, like, why are you not engaging the project to be a part of it? I know we've brought that up on a couple things that have submitted as well.
Emily?
Given how much conversation we've had on this, and given the challenges that DIMS has laid out, I think that it makes complete sense for us as the TOC in the course of sandbox reviews that if you are an operator for an existing project, go have a conversation with that project about potentially donating the operator to it. It improves usability of them. Beyond that, I'm not sure that it's worth the TOC's time and energy to focus on creating exclusive guidance for operators because we don't even have it for specifications currently.
Yeah,
What
we
if
can only point to other external things like Common House to say, hey, maybe a better fit there.
Cool.
So how about this? Is maybe we add, I don't know right off the top of my head which document, that if you're an operator, maybe that's in the sandbox application process that, go talk to. Otherwise, we close this out and move forward.
All right. Because there's an action there, we do need to update the sandbox information for people that are applying at sandbox to indicate this. It's like, hey, guidance, if you're an operator, go talk to the existing project. Otherwise, maybe you should look at Common House. So we can create that as a new issue off of this one and close it. Does that work?
That
Sweet.
sounds good. Okay. If everybody's okay with it, I think we can close the TOC meeting with the tag reboot in lieu of the open tag reboot issue.
I'll say +1 for me for doing that, since that's where things have moved.
Any concerns with the tag members on this call? Okay, then we'll close this one and move that one. All right, we have 11 minutes. Yeah, how many more we can close? Thanks, Bob. Ricardo's not here. So the tag ambassadors.
So this is something that I actually like. This has come up in a couple places now in some of the discussion with the tags on the like reboot as like other additional ways to potentially get more people involved. And like I think Emily, you had an idea around this as like an advocacy type sub project type thing, right?
Hold on, say again.
So the idea of tag ambassadors and just sort of advocacy has come up a few times now in conversations with tags, and you had an idea regarding potentially like a advocacy sub project or something.
Yeah, so this is off of the contributor strategies sub project. So uh, in the presentation, we talked about moving tag contributor strategy from a tag proper to a sub project, so it sits underneath of the TOC. And we've also talked about in doing that, it provides us with better oversight and mechanisms to engage more community members, to provide them either pathways into tags, into sub projects, into other community groups and opportunities. But a lot of what tag contributor strategy has been successful at, and several other tags have had some success with as well, is advocating for the projects, the technologies, the principles, practices, and techniques. So getting exposure out there, advocating for what it is that our groups are doing, their ideas, the papers, all of those things, and building a strong community around those efforts. Pulling advocacy in, and in particular the ambassadors who excel at these kinds of things, into a central location like the contributor strategy subproject gives us a good mechanism for making sure that those advocacy and contribution activities and community forming efforts are moving forward. It gives us a consistent structure. It won't be specific to a particular group or technical domain, so everybody's getting the benefit of that level of exposure. There's also opportunities for cross-domain awareness as well, because you're centralizing a lot of that. So you're creating this like nice melting pot of different skill sets, different backgrounds, different focuses to consistently and uniformly advocate for more contributions, more participation, more awareness about all of these things that are going on in the ecosystem. And that was kind of developed through conversations with TAG Environmental Sustainability and some of the things that they've been working on. TAG contributors strategy success with like providing that consultancy service with maintainers about, hey, I need to build my community. How do I do that? How do I get people more involved? How do I work through a contributor letter? So talking through a lot more of those things. And it also brings the ambassadors into this other portion of the ecosystem. We've been very fortunate to have TAG members like Leo who were previously ambassadors, and we have several community members that are or previously ambassadors, and we want to make sure that we're providing that opportunity and that alignment with the ambassador program for these things.
So for this issue, would it make sense to approach Leo about adding the process documentation into the new contributor strategy subproject under the TOC?
I think that would make sense. We have a lot of things to talk through about how that would work, because I believe that was written specifically for tags underneath of the old structure, and there's probably a lot we can reuse, but since we've changed some of the structure and how these things work, it'll need to be kind of refined.
Yeah. I would also probably mention like toss it out in tag chairs, just because this idea of some sort of ambassador or advocacy has come up in several places now.
idea. Okay, so it sounds like we have two action items here. One is convert this into the new tag structure. And then two is get other people looking at this and getting involved with discussing and creating that. Okay. I'm happy to, after the meeting, I can add comment and then do both of those things. So if you want to ping me on that, Bob. And then we've got
Oh.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just a update on this real quick. This has gone forward and will be up for the charter amendment for the GB meeting in March.
Do you want to add that update into, if it's not already there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, one thing I do want to mention here, and this came up in a discussion with Emily regarding the shadow position, is that the shadow positions will not mirror the 2-year term of the actual TOC members, because it, the person might actually like want to run to be in the TOC, and it also gets more people sort of potentially cycling through and learning about sort of the TOC and the TOC's responsibilities and things like that.
I agree. 6 months is too short. 2 years is too long.
This one. Okay. Thank you. I think that was it for the active review. The ready for assignment. I think these are the ones that were. Oh, Emily, go ahead.
I was gonna say we got 3 minutes left, and I want to like run through the notes and things. So we talked through the TOC workboard. We started going through it. I think for the ready for assignment pieces, we should all just take a look at them, see where they're at, and see if they're worthwhile. If we recommend closing or it's obsolete, something along those lines, just throw it in TOC channel so that we can have an async discussion on it. For archive and health of review, there is an action on our meeting notes for today to update the archiving file with the 3 items we discussed. I also added the establish a check-in status for health of projects so that once they've completed the health response window, but we determine that they're not feasible for archive, but are working towards returning to a healthy and active stage, we can indicate which ones those are. So we're not constantly asking what's going on with this. In addition to that, I went ahead and created an issue on Sandbox for the operator pieces that we discussed about today, and I've closed that issue, so it should no longer be an active review and discussion. And those are all the actions that I had captured. And Katie and Dims, I had tagged you on the 2 that you took in the notes for today on the issue. Did I miss anything?
Perfect. Thank you. And with 2 minutes, I don't think we need to cover anything else unless somebody has something.
Oh,
Okay.
when is the freeze date before KubeCon?
Honestly, I would say beginning of March for multiple reasons. Both because we'd be a month out from KubeCon and we'll have the new TOC seated March 4th. So there'll be a lot just of things in motion around then.
Yeah, we need to send comms out on that, Bob. When exactly the freeze date is.
Okay.
All right, I linked the freeze period. It's 3 weeks before KubeCon, so if we work back, we can get the accurate date. 4 weeks, within 4 weeks. Anyway, go ahead and please read that link for all the freeze date information. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And see you next time.
Bye.